Now, new figures show nearly 7,000 Irish medics are now registered to work in Australia, sparking concerns about the impact on the Irish Health Service now and, of course, into the future.
Joining us to discuss is Head of Research at the RCSI's Graduate School of Healthcare Management, Dr. Niamh Humphries, alongside Dr. Elizabeth Concannon, who is a surgeon and consultant who is living in Adelaide. Thank you both so much for being here. We really do appreciate it. Niamh, can we talk about these figures? You're talking about like 7,000 people registered. So, you know, this is over years. Is this number increasing? And when we're talking about the amount of people that are qualified as medics in Ireland, how many are we losing to Australia?
Yeah, so I've been looking at the number of visas that are issued to Irish doctors by Australia each year. And in 2019, there were 330 issued. And last year, there were 630 issued. So a huge increase in the number of doctors that are going over year on year from Ireland to Australia. And we train about 700 to 750 doctors each year. So it's a big proportion of the numbers that we train we're losing.
So there's none left?
Really?
I mean, you're talking 90%.
Are going to Australia, but doctors are still emigrating to places like the UK, Canada, New Zealand as well. So we are losing a lot relative to the number that we train.
At what stage are these doctors going?
Yeah, so there's kind of two main stages that they go. Sometimes they go at fellowship level. So when they go for subspecialty training. They go for like a 12 to 18 month stint in Australia to get those really high level skills. And they're probably in the minority in Australia. The majority of those going to Australia are early career doctors. So 560 of the 630 that went last year are early career doctors. So they're like NCHDs here or RMOs in Australia. So they're early career doctors mostly going to Australia.
Do you know if they come back?
It's hard to say. The research that I've done would indicate that most of them who go intend to stay initially once they have landed. But there are, you know, there are doctors coming back as well. There's kind of a balance between those who go long-term and that go short-term. But I think the risk is always that when they get there, they see the working conditions, they see the opportunities that are available to them in Australia, and they're tempted by that.
Okay.
You know?
Speaking of that, because Elizabeth, good evening to you in Australia. You left in 2020, kind of mid-pandemic, for a fellowship. You were planning on staying for a couple of years. It's 2026 now, Elizabeth. What happened?
Yeah, I did come over initially with the intention of a year or two of fellowship training after finishing my plastic surgery training in Ireland, which was really excellent training. There was a bit of a process to get my qualifications recognised here, which has taken a number of years, COVID causing a bit of a backlog to that process. But Australia and New Zealand have removed a lot of the hurdles that used to be there for getting your qualifications recognised over here. And I think that's probably one thing that's impacting the number of doctors, like that huge increase that we've seen in the last few years of people coming over, particularly more towards the end of their training. Obviously, travelling abroad for fellowship training brings back really good expertise to Ireland, but it can be very tempting to stay when there's kind of professional and lifestyle advantages of living in this part of the world.
So what's your situation, Elizabeth? What is it that is keeping you in Australia and making you think maybe I don't want to go back to Ireland again?
I'd say primarily it was professional in the first instance. Just like I work in the subspecialty of plastic surgery of burn surgery, and that's something that has a really good volume in the part of Australia where I'm living due to kind of bushfires. It has a really huge geographic catchment. The hospital I work in has a catchment of 2.5 million square kilometres, and the pre-hospital and trauma service is very functional in this in the region that I work in, which is great. And I did find it a little bit frustrating in a country with smaller geography that some of that trauma service was a bit dysfunctional at the time that I left in 2020. So that was the main thing that attracted me to stay here professionally. And then lots of lifestyle reasons. I love being outdoors. I love the beach. I love surfing. I could do all those things in Ireland, but the hours that I had outside of work to do those things was quite short, especially in the colder winter months. So that kind of lifestyle factor is big for me, and was a big draw for me to stay here. Even though I obviously miss my Irish family a lot. I've got a big family, 7 sisters. One of them lives in Sydney. She also moved over here as a doctor, but I could see her over the last 20 years being able to travel home regularly as well because of her salary in Australia. So getting 2 or 3 weeks holiday in Ireland and spending the rest of the year living and working here was a kind of a sacrifice I was willing to make.
Elizabeth mentioned so many buzzwords there that you wouldn't associate, and I don't mean to kick the HSE when it's down, but functional was one thing that Elizabeth mentioned there. Niamh, you went over in 2018 to interview Irish doctors who are working in the Australian healthcare system. Since then, there's been an awful lot of changes within the HSE. They're moving to the 7-day-a-week sort of a structure as well. So what did you find then as to why people weren't coming home? And I'm assuming there's like a correlation now as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think work-life balance was a huge thing for the doctors then, that they would go from maybe working an 80-hour week as standard in the Irish health system, then they go to Australia, 40-hour standard working week. So that just makes a huge difference to work-life balance.
How do they do that? Like, genuinely, like you're sitting there. I know it's staffing, it's money. Why can't we do the same?
Because they're all leaving.
But even if we can never have, you know, the gorgeous lifestyle that you can have in Australia, why can't we make it so that our nurses and doctors can have a better work-life balance?
I think we need to pay more attention to retention and work-life balance. I think these aren't kind of added extras. These are very important to people and to their lives, their professional life, their personal life, that they're happy at work. And I think we need to put a lot more effort into retention and kind of getting that balance right and enabling them to get the balance right. The other thing they felt in Australia was that they were better supported in their work when they were at work. So they were working better hours, but also they were better resourced. There was more staff with them on while they were at work, which helped them to get through the workload in an easier way. There was better access to diagnostics, things like that. So they were supported, they felt, to be the best that they could be at work, which was amazing. So they were... And
they don't have that.
They didn't feel they had that to the same extent here, no.
Elizabeth, the HSE estimates that 75 to 80% of those who leave eventually come back to the HSE within 2 to 5 years. I'm sure you know an awful lot of Irish people over there who probably work alongside you and work in similar fields. Do you see that a lot of them are keen to come back at some stage, or a lot of them have set their roots now in Australia?
Probably a bit of both. I certainly know a lot of consultants in Australia and New Zealand who are really keen to come back to Ireland. But there are certain things that are making that not attractive as an option, not just professionally and lifestyle-wise, but I think just having, I guess, being headhunted back to jobs where their expertise is recognised and kind of appreciated. This isn't my experience, but I know somebody who runs a burn service in a unit in New Zealand, for example, who she's been told that there wouldn't really be any work for her in Ireland, which just seems a little bit ludicrous that that position would be filled in a country where there's a recently built children's hospital and a burn service that would really benefit from her expertise in particular. So I think most of the people that have gone abroad are well known to the hospitals that are trying to recruit these people back, and being approached directly rather than being approached by maybe medical recruiters would be probably appreciated more by the people that are abroad that have developed, they may have many years in a career and really have some very good expertise to bring back to Ireland if they were approached for a permanent contract rather than like a temporary position or a locum position, which just wouldn't really stand up to the conditions they have while they're abroad.
That's such a good point that, like, you're nodding away there, Niamh, to what Elizabeth is saying. And I know that we're just targeting doctors here because that's where your research is, but there's so many healthcare professionals who have gone to Australia, including... Is that something... Because we've said, the HSE have said they've recently stood up a digital engagement initiative targeting the Irish healthcare diaspora in Australia. And, digital, online, Harriet, please come home. Do you think they need to just talk to people?
Yeah, I think it's really good that they're beginning to recognise that the diaspora are a potential workforce for Ireland and that they potentially could be encouraged back. So that's a positive. But I think as direct a contact as possible it would be best, to not just have a Facebook ad or an ad on Instagram, but to actively connect with people who've left, find out why they left, what would encourage them back. and then, you know, introduce those things and make sure that they get a soft landing really when they do decide to come home.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure that, listen, there must be an awful lot of people who are watching this morning who have family members who've moved to Australia, Canada, Middle East, wherever. Send us your messages. Let us know what you are hearing from them and why they don't feel the time is right to come back to Ireland as well, because it certainly is very, very interesting.
Absolutely. Dr. Elizabeth Concannon, one of 4 doctors in her family of 7. The other 3 girls, I don't know how it goes around the Christmas table for them, but surgeon and consultant living in Adelaide. We appreciate you so much chatting to us today, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Much love to all your family. And Dr. Niamh Humphries, Senior Lecturer and Head of Research at the RCSI Graduate School of Healthcare Management. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.